In this video, we will be tasting and talking about Eco-Farmed GABA Oolong Tea. We're here today tasting our recently harvested and processed summer 2021 batch of Eco-Farmed GABA Oolong Tea. GABA is an abbreviation of gamma-aminobutyric acid, GABA. Gamma-aminobutyric acid, and that compound is actually in our central nervous system, naturally occurring, and is known to be responsible for the calming or the recovery from a fight or flight kind of nervous system activity, so to speak. So it's believed that GABA is effective in calming our whole nervous system and beneficial in other ways, in cardio aspect and in improving sleep. And it was originally developed in Japan in the 1980s. A researcher found out that by oxidizing the tea leaves in an anaerobic environment, basically becoming a nitrogen atmosphere instead of an oxygen atmosphere, it increases the amount of GABA, which is naturally occurring in tea leaves, by the way. It increases the amount manyfold. So they've been making tea like that as a health supplement for decades now. And when there became a demand for it, it was originally like literally a health supplement made into capsules or powders, and it wasn't very flavorful as a tea. That's one of the reasons is because it wasn't being fully oxidized. And so eventually the demand led to Taiwan and to Taiwan's artisan oolong tea makers, who improved a lot on the quality of the brewed tea using their oolong tea making skills. And that brings us to our source, who is a pioneer in natural tea farming. He has a certified organic farm and has been experimenting and exploring natural tea farming methods for 20 years now. He's been making GABA tea for about 15 years, and in the last 10 years or so has kind of specialized in GABA oolong tea making. This is our source of GABA oolong, and this is the plot of tea right behind their home and factory, and it will be harvested in a couple of days. They're harvesting another plot of tea today, and we're going to observe and perhaps participate in the processing of a traditional style of oolong tea making. Personally, I've read controversy about how GABA being ingested is different from it naturally occurring in our nervous system. That sounds completely logical. So the effects of ingesting GABA, there is some controversy over that. For me, it kind of aligns with the theanine theory in tea, which is another compound that promotes a relaxed state of awareness, not a stimulated state of awareness that comes from caffeine. So whatever that may be and whatever those chemicals are and how they affect our system, I have found over the years that GABA tea does give me a really nice clear buzz in that sense. It clarifies my mind and my body feels relaxed, differently from standard teas. For brewing, I did 11 grams, just over 11 grams in a 200 milliliter Taiwan teapot here. Started at 1 minute 10 seconds just to open up the leaves, and then went with 1 minute intervals. I have first brew, second brew, third brew, fourth brew, and I brewed the fifth steeping for a long time, at least 5 minutes, and we'll try that after we get through the first several. Let's check it out. Father and son team now. Continually experimenting, continually tweaking their processing methods. as well as their farming methods. It's a rich story. It's a wonderfully inspiring story of this guy who's really putting the natural farming theories to work in his tea production over many years. And I could talk about that for hours, but I'll just limit it to saying that he is a pioneer, and he's being paid, he's getting attention from other organic tea growers now, mostly because of the tea that he's actually making is drawing attention. So we've been sourcing GABA from him for several years now, I think about 4 years. And they have a new neat tea roaster. It's actually designed as a coffee bean roaster, which in effect produce infrared rays. And it has a more penetrating and thorough roasting effect. And it seems at least what I've heard about this type of roaster so far, is that it's effective in low temperature roasting, but getting a nice uniform effect. So it's really just kind of drying the leaves, slightly transforming them, but not at all toasting them on the outside. So low, maybe 90 degrees or lower, 70 to 90 degrees, perhaps repeated intervals. That comes to mind because of the taste. There is a certain caramelly kind of flavor in there of just sort of condensed sugar, or sugar that's slightly browned. Syrupy palm sugar is another, the Indian type of sugar that I believe is called jaggery, reddish palm sugar, a raw palm. It has fruitiness, a lot of fruitiness, so there's sweetness and fruitiness. The tanginess brings in rhubarb, strawberry rhubarb pie can easily be conjured. Very complex, so it has this sweet brown sugary kind of aspect along with a tangy fruity aspect. I'm going to go to brew 2 here. So I mentioned the ratio. This is a bit lighter, which is kind of more similar to black tea, lighter or less of a ratio in terms of leaves to water than oolong tea. Typically we recommend 1 to 15, 10 grams of tea leaves for a 150 milliliter pot. We did 11 grams for a 200 milliliter pot. So closer to 1 to 20, maybe 1 to 19 or something if you do the math. And I found that not brewing it so concentrated offers more complexity. You get more distinct flavor notes. When you brew it concentrated, it gets denser, of course, but it just gets a little more muddled and not so refined. There's plenty of flavor here. It's really fruity and tangy, or a bit musk almost, something a little deeper. It's soothing, but it's also the tanginess makes it refreshing, the fruity aspect to it. Let me concentrate on the 4th brew here. It's getting a little bit milder, a little flattened out. More of a nice, delicate black tea flavor in the 4th brew. These are all cooled down to almost room temperature. Pounding tea here. Okay, might as well not stop now. Let's go for the power pow, so to speak. Pow meaning brew in Chinese. This is brewed, the 5th brew, for a good 5 minutes. It's much darker. This is just something that I've gotten into doing in this setup particularly to get through the first 4 brews. I feel like that gives us a good sense of the general composition of a tea, and then just for fun to push it and see where it goes when it's really pushed, 5 times longer than the previous brews. What do we got here? It's not overly astringent or bitter at all. Sherry, the word sherry came to mind, like sherry wine. It's very nice, wow. It's definitely beefed up the thickness and mouthfeel to it. This is the combined 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th brew. I'm always pleasantly surprised with GABA. It has a flavor profile that goes beyond tea in its fruitiness. Like, you could make that into a cocktail and I think it would really fly. Yeah, see, there's still hints of green in here. Mostly dark red, brown. Leaves all over me now. But some leaves still have some green, which makes me say it's not fully oxidized. But black tea, as we've seen from India and even more prominently from Nepal in recent years, they're calling it black tea. The leaves are still more than half green. So that's a bit of a conflict with Taiwanese definitions. But whatever, I mean, really, it comes down more to the processing methods and how the leaves are manipulated in those processing methods, and then finally, the character of tea that results. This is machine harvested, so it's been destemmed by a computerized scanner, and we have mostly leaf material here, very little stem material. So there we have it. A new batch of GABA Oolong Tea. It is an anomaly of a tea type. We encourage you to check it out, especially if you're looking for something that's a little less stimulating and more calming, and you like that fruity, ripe fruit, preserved fruit character that can come from a refined black tea, or even an Oriental Beauty or a Baihao. It's that kind of section of the spectrum in tea making. Thanks for being with us. You can check out all the details on our blog post about this tea, as well as the product page. You go to ecocha.com, you click on Eco-Farmed Teas, which designates teas that are sourced from certified organic farms, and you'll find GABA Oolong Tea at the top of that page. Thanks.